Scientifically speaking, we're sharing the view. From labs to clinics, breakthrough shining through, with minds that inspire and stories to unfold. Scientifically speaking, the future's being told.
Welcome to another episode of Scientifically Speaking with Christine on Oz Arab Media. Today, we're talking about one of the most important aspects of our health, which is our mental well-being, and how simple conversations can sometimes change the course of someone's life. Every day, thousands of Australians experience emotional distress, loneliness, anxiety, or even thoughts of suicide. While many people have heard of Lifeline Australia, not everyone understands who they really are, or what they really do, or how they support people during life's most difficult moments. And for that reason, we have with us today Mr. Graham Strong, the CEO of Lifeline Australia, to discuss the science behind crisis support, the services they provide, and how they're working to ensure support reaches Australia's even diverse multicultural communities. Graham, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Christine.
Of course, our pleasure. So let's straight away start, Graham. For those who may only know Lifeline as just a crisis, can you tell us who Lifeline Australia is and what your organization really does?
So, Lifeline's vision and mission is very clear. We want to see an Australia free of suicide, right? So Lifeline exists in many ways just to ensure that no person across Australia has to face their toughest moments alone. And we provide the crisis support, suicide prevention services, training, advocacy, research, and community programs across the country. And it's also important just to realize that the support is free and available 24/7 by calling 13 11 14 or texting or using our online chat.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Lifeline has been supporting Australia for decades now. How has the organization evolved since it first began?
So Lifeline was founded in 1963 by Sir Alan Walker after a tragic experience involving a distress caller. What began as just a very simple telephone service has evolved into a national network of 43 centers around the country. Lifeline now provides, the home phone, text, online chat, self-help resources online, and a variety of other, services. But also, the mission it remains unchanged. It's really about just, providing hope, connection, and support in moments of crisis.
That is amazing. Many people think they should contact Lifeline only if they're suicidal, but you did mention a lot more of other services. Can you tell us who is Lifeline actually there for other than suicide?
Yeah, this is one of the biggest misconceptions about Lifeline, right? So let's just clarify. It's for people who are feeling overwhelmed, distressed, lonely, anxious, or just struggling to cope. So you don't need to be suicidal to contact Lifeline. We're here, it provides an early support, and we also know that early support can prevent problems escalating into crisis. So it's there as a protective factor for Australians who just need someone to talk to.
Right. And what are some of the common reasons you've seen people reach out to Lifeline today?
Well, we're seeing more and more people reach out for financial distress and cost of living pressures. We're seeing more people reach out for, due to loneliness and social disconnection, relationship and family challenges. We're seeing more people reach out due to housing insecurity, work-related pressure, and distress linked to kind of the world events that are happening, today. Calls are often driven by a combination of these factors rather than a single issue as well. So what we're seeing is, callers are actually calling with much more complex issues as a result of maybe two or three of these reasons for calling.
Very interesting. And as a CEO, what trends have you noticed in Australia's mental health over the past few years?
Let me just give you a few statistics. In 2024, Lifeline had one of its busiest years on record. So we had over 1.4 million contacts, which now, today we're receiving over about 4,500 contacts a day, which basically is, every 24 seconds, someone in Australia is reaching out to Lifeline. And so Australians continue. So that just know we know that Australians continue to face significant levels of distress and anxiety. We know those number of reasons that we just talked about, like cost of living, global
Mm,
uncertainty. It's actually contributing to quite a bit of emotional strain. So, but then the positive story is that more people are reaching out for support when they need it, and that's really important that Lifeline exists as a result, for people who actually need that support and are willing to give us a call.
that's amazing. Now, if we want to talk a little bit about the people on the other side of the line, can you explain why simply talking to another person can really reduce this distress or actually save a life?
Yeah. Well, I just want to call out our incredible team of about 5,000 crisis supporters around the country. I mean, they are really the heartbeat of the organization. And to break it down very simply, they provide, kind of, human to human connection because, as humans, if I look at myself, connection is a fundamental need, right? And the power of our crisis supporters is that they simply listen without judgment, and through that reduces distress and creates a sense of safety. And so our crisis supporters, it's very important to know that they don't diagnose or judge. They just simply listen and help people feel heard and explore coping strategy. And I've heard them just talk about it in the sense that we just walk alongside, we acknowledge and sit with the pain that people may be experiencing that at that time, just as a powerful reminder that there are people, the importance of human to human connection.
That is amazing to hear. But, Graham, many people might worry that they're saying the wrong thing if someone opens up to them. What advice would you give to the families and friends in regards to that?
Look, it's you don't need to have all the answers. And what we have learned over 63 years of providing this service is just focus on listening, with empathy and without judgment. Right? Encourage the person also to seek professional support if they need it. And also just, I think it's also important for us to stop and recognize, and ask someone how they are doing, or making time to listen to a colleague at work, that can just make such a meaningful difference just in that moment.
Nice. Now, mental health is still a difficult topic in many multicultural communities. So, what barriers do cold or culturally and linguistically diverse communities face when seeking help from your end?
So, some culturally and linguistic diverse communities may face elevated risks due to factors such as social isolation, language
Mm,
barriers, discrimination, settlement challenges, cultural expectations and stigma around mental health. And these barriers are real, so that really making sure so these barriers can make it hard to seek help early. Highlighting the importance of making sure that services are accessible and that they're culturally responsive support to people who are calling in. So we believe in Lifeline that every person deserves access to support that is respectful, culturally appropriate, and more important, easy to navigate.
amazing. Now, from our platform as Oz Arab Media, maybe trying to reach out to Arabs and many other multicultural communities, does Lifeline currently offer any services, resources, or any referred pathways for multicultural or non English speaking
Mm.
communities?
Yeah, so Lifeline supports culturally and linguistically, diverse communities through its 24/7 phone, text, and online chat service. So there's free interpreter support is available via the translation and interpreting services, an independent interpreting service provided by the Department of Home Affairs. So Lifeline also provides multilingual online information, including dedicated Arabic language support content. We also, within Lifeline, in our support toolkit that's online, provide culturally relevant well-being resources and helps people identify support pathways that best suit their needs. So a real focus of Lifeline has been to look at that culturally, linguistically diverse communities across Australia.
Right. So today, if I am a non-English speaker, am I
Mm.
able to just call the hotline and be answered in my language?
You'll have an interpreter, and that
Oh,
that will
okay.
be done through an interpreter, based on the language that someone is calling in on through that service.
Amazing.
And
Amazing.
also,
And
when
and
you go onto our toolkit, you can just there's you can click on what I think is probably about 20 different languages in order to get the relevant the relevant information to look for ways that you can seek help.
amazing. So seeking those opportunities to improve access are mainly online.
Yes.
Lovely. If I can take the topic into another technology today
Mm.
is changing healthcare rapidly. How is Lifeline using technology, digital services, and innovation to reach out to more Australians?
Yeah, so Lifeline provides support through our phone, text, and online chat services, which I've told you about, right? So,
Yeah.
and that's a large technology platform that we provide those services through. So Lifeline's and also our toolkit is provides that practical self-help information and pathways to support. So technology improves what we look at from it for the accessibility and allows people to choose the channel they feel most comfortable using. And we are constantly seeing increased demand across our digital services, especially among young people, people with speech impairment and other disabilities, and those who may not have safety or have safety or privacy to speak out loud. So technology is very much an important part of the work that
Nice.
we do and is part of ensuring that we meet that demand as people reach out to Lifeline.
Lovely. Now, looking ahead, what are the biggest challenges facing mental health support services in Australia over the next decade from your point of view?
It's just sustaining. It's the sustaining and growing demand for support, right? Which is good because we want people reaching out, right? So
But it
continued
came with a
impact.
very deep breath, so it looks like you're in need of more supporters.
Yeah, supporters. Support is vital to the work that we do, and we're extremely thankful for the support that we receive through government funding and through private funding as well. And so we just that support allows us to provide this service at the scale that we're currently providing it, knowing that the demand is going to be increasing as well. So we also know that kind of the continued impact of the economic uncertainty, housing pressures, loneliness, social disconnection. These things are not going away, right? And that does have a big impact on people looking for support and help. So we work to just ensure that our services remain accessible and responsive to diverse communities across this country. And we're going to continue to invest in prevention, and early prevention and evidence informed approaches are critical for us to ensure that we provide that quality service.
Amazing. We hope all the support comes to you as well. We spoke a lot about, how people might be just on the fence, not calling, hesitating, don't know what to do. If you could change just one thing about how Australians really think about asking for help, what would it be?
I would just say, look, asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness,
Mm,
right? So, yeah, it's just, and it takes courage, right? Yeah, and, once you take that step to seek help, know that that comes from a position of strength, and that support will come in a way that you will not experience judgment. You'll just have a non-judgmental ear and someone who will compassionately listen and to you as you think through what your options are in terms of moving forward.
that is amazing, straight to the point. Towards the end of Scientifically Speaking, I usually have like a little quiz or a game that we call it
Should be
Myth
fun.
Busting. Yeah, it's just to make it a little bit fun if you want.
Yeah.
Myth busting, there's a lot of people that maybe know or acknowledge some statements that are not really very true. So we'd like to maybe bust it with you, anything related to
Oh, yeah.
mental health and life. Are you ready?
Yeah. Oh, I'd love
All
to do
right.
this. Yeah.
I'll ask you some statements. Just tell me quickly if they're true or false, or maybe a little why. The very
All right.
first statement is you should only call Lifeline if you're suicidal.
False.
Mm,
So Lifeline is here to support anyone experiencing distress or feeling overwhelmed.
nice. Second one, talking
Hmm.
about suicide might put the idea into someone else's head, so better not do so.
False.
Simply, no explanation.
Oh, yeah, I can give you an explanation. It's safe. It's compassionate conversations can encourage help seekers and support. Yeah,
Bro.
so it's important.
Amazing. If someone is laughing and acting normally, they can't be struggling mentally for sure.
That's false because distress is not always visible.
That's, I agree. And this one we just mentioned, but let's do it for the sake of the game. Asking for help is a sign of weakness.
That is false. And as you heard, it's a sign of strength. So when you have the opportunity or if you need that support, just seek, well, get that positive and, support that you need. And I know it's a courageous step in the right direction.
Amazing. And our lucky last statement, most people in emotional distress just want someone to genuinely listen.
That is generally true. Lifeline's model is really built on compassionate, non-judgmental listening, and it really reinforces that human-to-human connection.
That is lovely, Graham. I love this conversation. It was straight to the point and it needed us to know exactly what we needed to know. So, thank you for joining us today and helping us better understand the real important work that you do at Lifeline every single day. And definitely shout out to the team that's been on the other side of the line always. So, thank you.
Thank you, Christine, for the opportunity. And as we in Lifeline, it's no person in Australia should have to face their toughest moment alone. And so, thank you for letting us share that message as well across your communities.
Of course, our duty. Thank you so much. And before I let you go, to our listeners, I'd like to say remember that reaching out for help isn't a sign that you failed. It is often the first step towards healing. And just as importantly, taking the time to genuinely listen to someone else could make more of a difference to their lives. It was Christine on Scientifically Speaking on Oz Arab Media. Until next time.